Good morning. This is John Martin from Additional Income. I have the awesome opportunity to talk with Mr. Brandyn Cox. He owns BMC Accounting LLC and Vetrepreneur Tribe contributor often because everybody needs a CPA in their corner, basically, right, Brandyn?
Right.
He does everything from bookkeeping, payroll, to business formation. He prepares your company taxes, all that stuff. Brandyn, introduce yourself, and I'd love to get to know you.
So my name is Brandyn Cox. Yes, I am the one and only member of BMC Accounting LLC. So anytime if you ever do try to reach the company, you'll always get me. So it's just, I don't have any employees. I don't have any other partners. It's always just me. So I've been in business for about 1.5 years now. And this past probably 6 months, I took the company national and started doing a lot of social media marketing, and it's been paying off quite well. I've got a lot of clients all over the U.S. for all the different services that you were just talking about, whether filing an LLC or corporation, bookkeeping, and also doing taxes too.
Yeah, it's interesting. The internet has created it used to be like they globalized the market. Yep. This is taking it all to a whole different level. A lot of the stuff that people are doing now, they can do a lot more virtually. Sometimes easier and cheaper. You don't have to travel to the customer. You can do a lot of this stuff virtually.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and one of the things for all my local customers too, I don't have an office, and I did that on purpose. And the reason is anytime I meet up clients, we go to like Starbucks or Panera or a restaurant, or I can go to their house. It makes it a lot easier for all my clients that are local to even interact with them too. Because everybody hates going to the office, because if you forget something, it's like, man, I got to reschedule, come back. But if you're at your own home, it makes it a lot easier. It's the same way with all my out-of-state clients. They're usually at home when I'm talking to them. So I do a Zoom conference for any tax returns. That way I can have face-to-face interaction.
Sure.
And that way they can always be like, oh, yeah, hold on, let me pull this up off my computer. It makes everything a lot more easy. It makes it more flowable.
Yeah, it's amazing. Technology is really changing the way people do business these days.
Yeah.
So I've read through, obviously we've talked a little bit before, and I know that you were Army or MP. Yep. Tell us what brought you to the place where I know you're working for the VA now, and I don't know how long you've been doing that, but how, just kind of give us a little bit of a timeline and what brought you to this place where you're creating your own CPA firm.
Okay. So I graduated high school in 2007, and I always knew that I wanted to be a cop. Even when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a police officer, and I figured the best avenue of approach for that would be going in the military. I chose Army specifically because I don't like the ocean, so I didn't go to the Navy. And the Army was the only one of the other branches that would guarantee a specific MOS. So like Marines, they basically, you go through basic or whatever, and I guess if you don't do as well as you think, you don't get your MOS. And the same thing for Air Force. So I chose Army. I went in 2007, right after I graduated high school. I spent 2 years in Germany, really enjoyed myself there, had a great time. I did law enforcement operations, so I was always in the patrol car, responding to calls for 2 years. That's what I did. And then I got to Fort Drum in 2010, and 3 weeks after I got there, I went to Afghanistan. So the first half of my enlistment, I actually didn't even see the U.S. for more than a month. It was interesting. Wow. Yes, I did a tour in Afghanistan 2010 to 2011. And when I came back, I went back to Fort Drum. I stayed there for a year, did normal company work, and then a year into that, I went on to the CID team, which is the Criminal Investigations Division. And I did the undercover drug team, which was a blast. I had so much fun. I mean, the military was letting me buy, cocaine and pills and marijuana on their dime. It was pretty neat. Not using it, but it was just a good time all around. So I had a good experience while I was in the military.
Right.
I got married after deployment, so I decided to get out because she was finishing up college. We didn't really spend a lot of time together because, like I said, she was finishing college, so she went back to Michigan to finish up her degree, and she graduated right after I got out of the Army. So I said, yeah, well, I'll get out. You finish up your degree, and I'll go to school. So that's what I did. I went to school for criminal justice, thinking, all right, I'm going to be a cop. This is exactly the path that I wanted. This is working out just fine. doing great in school. However, one of the things that kind of started to catch up with me was deployment.
Right.
I had a lot of anxiety, depression, some PTSD symptoms, and I said, you know what? I don't think being a police officer is probably in my best interest anymore to do so. You know, I realized that, and I said, no, I don't think that I would end up being the cop that I would want to be. So I decided to take a business course as an elective with criminal justice, and I was like, well, let me see what else I can do. And they talked about balance sheet and income statement. I remember that class you're talking about, and I was like, that is so cool. It was just like one day, because it wasn't an accounting class. It was just a basic business course. And I'm like, man, that is so interesting that you can figure all this stuff out. I was like, because I've always liked math. I didn't really participate a lot in high school. I felt like I had better things to do at the time. But of course, when you're a little bit older and you go to college, you pay attention a lot more and you take real interest.
Yeah, so that's funny. I can honestly tell you, I have any math class that I've ever taken in my life, there's never been an idea bulb go, bing, this is what you need to do with the rest of your life. I can tell you that's never happened to me, Brandyn.
Right, and for most people, that's definitely true.
Right.
And so after I did that, I decided, you know what, I'll take an extra accounting course just because that's what this is all about. So signed up for Financial Reporting 1, which is just the most basic stuff. It's essentially learning how to bookkeep, really.
Right.
In a nutshell is what that is. And I really liked it. So I have a neighbor who lives across the street from me who owns a landscaping company. And I talked to him. I said, I was getting to know about his business a little bit and his financials. And I said, I tell you what, man, I'm learning this stuff in school. Why don't you pay me $200 and I'll backdate all of 2017's books for you? I'll start, because this was like September probably. And so I was like, I'll take all your receipts, all your income, everything, and I'll create a whole set of books for you from January until the end of the year so we can do your taxes. He's like, all right, we'll do that. So, and so he gave me $200 and I'm sitting there with all the receipts. And I did old school, man. I did on an Excel document. I wasn't even using QuickBooks. I mean, the only technology I was using was a computer, aside from using pen and paper. So I was doing it old school style.
Wow.
And I was like, this is pretty cool, because I figure if I did it old school, that I would know if I'm doing it right. Because if you make a mistake, you're going to see it later on, and then that's on you to figure out, okay, where did that mistake come from? So it was nice because I kind of self-taught myself how to troubleshoot issues and where to actually investigate certain accounts to find out what happened. So that was really fun. I actually enjoyed it. Like I said, it was kind of like an investigation. It was like a little puzzle you're putting together. I was like, man, this is awesome. So I talked to another guy that I was working at the VA at the time, the Department of Veterans Affairs up in Ann Arbor, and he owned a charter boat tour business. And I was like, it was small scale, nothing big. I was like, I'll tell you what, man, why don't you give me $200 and I'll do the same thing too. And by then it's like October. He's like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So I'm like, awesome, man, I've got 2 clients. This is cool.
Right.
So I did the exact same thing for him. Turned out really great.
Yeah.
And then I took my individual taxation course, and that was really where the fire ignited. That's stuff that everyone is usually like, oh my God, I do not care. Like taxes.
You're like, yes.
I know. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And really, the biggest reason I think that made it so interesting to me is that it was really the first time in my life that I felt really smart. Like I'm not a super intelligent person, but I'm also not really dumb either. But it was just the first time that I was like, when I talk to other people about this, they're going to look at me and go, he's smart. I was like, that's really cool. I've never felt like that before.
Yeah. And you know what? I truly believe that some people, when you find what you're really good at, it's just like the switch just kind of goes on, and you realize, man, I love doing this, and it's not the same for everybody. I mean, everybody has different passions, but it's very interesting. I mean, when I hear you doing your lives and things like that, this stuff is interesting. I know it's interesting to you because you've learned it. You remember it. You're not, maybe you have like points that you talk from when you do your live shows and things, just to kind of keep things moving. But this is stuff that Brandyn, and these are the type of people, as a small business, especially as a small business. I mean, because what is one of the toughest things to recover from if you're starting out? And let's say you have a great year, you finally had a good year and all this other stuff, and you got all this money coming in, and then it comes time to tax season and you get this huge bill from the IRS, that can really be disappointing to somebody that's worked their heart out all year long.
Right.
So
and that's how a lot of businesses actually fail in the first 5 years. It isn't even so much the lack of demand and supply.
right.
It's, taxes. Like the most basic example is failing to pay sales tax.
Yeah.
If you forgot to collect that, well, first of all, that could be anywhere between 5 and 14% of your profit if you forgot to collect it, because now all that money is on you to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that money, the state is going to shut you down.
Yep.
They'll give you a little bit of time to pay it, but if you continue to fail to pay or make payments, your business is shut down.
Right.
And that's how a lot of companies fail in the first 5 years
Mm-hmm.
is that simple, small aspect a lot of people look over because they don't take the time or they don't connect with somebody that does know.
Yeah. And you started now, so you actually formally started your LLC. You created BMC Accounting LLC, and you started that in 2016?
2000, is it 16? I think it was 16 now.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2016.
So that's basically when you kind of put everything formal. You filed your articles of incorporation, I'm assuming, and you did that in Ohio, correct?
Right.
So is it difficult to get the certification to be able to do national bookkeeping or national tax preparation? What is it that gives you the opportunity so that you can reach to a more national audience instead of just in Ohio? Right.
So most states, in fact, I don't know any state that has a restriction for bookkeeping or payroll services. Certainly in order to attract your clients and be able to earn the revenue, you're definitely going to want to have some education, certification behind yourself to attract those people, which I have. I went to school for accounting.
Right.
And so that's where I get that part from. Now, as far as taxes, the states and the IRS don't really care so much who files your taxes, because if you file taxes and you mess up, they're coming for you. So they don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, they do have certifications and designations, which I have, that make you allowed to do so many tax returns. So, for example, if you want to file more than 10 or more tax returns in a year as a paid preparer, you have to get what's called the ERO. It's Electronic Return Originator. So that's what allows me to e-file, because if you file 10 or more, you have to do them electronically. If you send in 100 copies to the IRS, you're going to get penalized if they're done by paper.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because it just takes up too much time for the IRS to do that. That's why they don't even do paper for most of the stuff anymore, unless you provide an explanation. So it starts off that you have to get a P10, which is a Preparer's Tax Identification Number. That you pay $50 for. You pay an application online. They do a background check to make sure that you're current on your taxes. You never lied, cheated, failed, or anything like that. And they go, all right, so you're allowed to become the most minimal thing, which is paid preparer, which is what I started off as. And then I got that ERO designation, and that requires you to go actually get fingerprints. It's a much more thorough background check. They look for misdemeanors, any type of crime, to see if you're ethical. So that took a couple months to get that.
Yeah.
And it was lucky I thought about that, and I actually did the research when I first started the business, because this was October when I decided to become a tax preparer, and tax preparing starts in, really February.
Sure.
So I got that designation just in time to be able to do this. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'd have been in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people look at, well, I got to worry about this in April. When they file, that's just not true, right? I mean, basically, it's a year-round thing, collecting up all your receipts, and do you help customers when they're working with you to do their bookkeeping and things like that? Would you say, I mean, just in your experience so far, would you say that keeping good records is probably one of the biggest struggles for business owners?
It really is. A lot of people, and honestly, I'm guilty of it too. They make a purchase with something quick, simple, and they, just normally they, someone asks like, "Hey, do you want to keep, do you want the receipt?" And immediately you just say no, because you're so used to the receipt.
Save the paper.
And then you walk out, you're like, yep. You're like, crap. And you're like, well, I forgot that receipt. So, I mean, having every single receipt is ideal, but you can also substantiate your documents through like bank statements, credit card statements, or anything like that. Now, the only problem that you're going to run into is if you have like multiple purchases on one thing. So like, let's say you go to Best Buy and you buy a bunch of computers, but you also buy some ink and you buy some other stuff. Well, all these different kind of things are technically different types. One's an asset, the computer and the printer is an asset. The ink is job supplies. You know, one gets depreciated over time, the other one's an immediate write-off. Well, if you don't have any way to substantiate the cost of those, you may lose the deduction for that with the IRS. And that's where the problem lies.
So what do you recommend in that sort of situation? I mean, if you're starting out, you know, and obviously you're spending, you know, let's say you're spending a little bit of money, you know, is there an app for scanning those sort of things? Or do you, for you personally, you know, when you're recommending to people how to keep it, is it just something as simple as making sure you always get a receipt with the itemized items on there so that it's easier for you to kind of pull apart when you're doing the preparation for them?
So the most basic thing that I tell people, and this is for people that are making a lot of transactions or they're, you know, very, very busy, is just once you get the receipt, take a picture of it on your phone, and then you got it.
Yeah.
Because most every phone has cloud backup these days, so your pictures are saved. I tell people the most basic thing is on your phone, make a photo album for just call it taxes or receipts.
Good idea.
And you just take the picture and it automatically goes into that folder and you always have it. That's the most basic thing. Otherwise, I tell people, I mean, you can set up your own QuickBooks account for really, really cheap. I think the cheapest one for self-employed is like $5 a month. And that's really all that account specifically really is good for, is just keeping track of expenses and income.
Sure.
So, I mean, you can even do that. And the QuickBooks app even has a thing where you can write the expense on it and take a picture of it with the app of the receipt, and it'll automatically load it to that transaction.
So basically,
but that's a little more time intensive for some people.
Yeah. So now that QuickBooks, the one you're talking about, like the basic, you can actually add that to your phone.
Yep.
You know, log into it, and then every time you're out, even if you're, you know, talking with a customer, like what you were saying.
Yeah, I got it right there.
Oh yeah. That's too easy. I mean, we're all used to that now. I mean, basically everybody's got an app for everything. So it's kind of cool. You're out with the customer, like you take them to Starbucks, you meet up with your potential client. You know, obviously you buy coffee, you know, you click the receipt. That's you know, it could be a business expense, correct? I mean, everything, almost everything that you do when it comes to doing business, you can write off in some way, I'm assuming.
Right. Yeah, just about. I mean, meals is 50% off for deduction. So, I mean, if you spend, you know, $10 on coffee, you get to write off $5 of it.
That's insane. Yeah, just that little part right there. It was, you know, very interesting. Yeah. Now, what's the, you know, I know that we've talked about kind of how you got to what you're doing now, and what kind of pushed you in that direction. You had your light bulb moment, and you know, you're kind of like, hey, I really like this. Now that you've been doing it for, at this point, almost 3 years, I'm assuming. Yeah. Well, no, it's probably about 2 years, because you said you kind of got into it in October. So 2 years time frame. What is it that's most enjoyable about this, the career path that you've chosen? I mean, you know, eventually you're going to probably take this full time and be doing this full time.
Right.
What do you love about it now? Like, you know.
Sure. The thing that I find the most joy out of what I'm doing is that you're teaching, or at least this is how I run my company. And this is not how other accounting firms and CPAs and tax agencies run. I can tell you that, is that I enjoy educating my clients. Because one of the things I feel in the market currently is that none of the others will do that. And if you go to H&R Block to file your taxes, they're not going to spend the 20 or 30 minutes just basically explaining to you what's going on. They'll say, hey, here's your refund. It's just burn them and turn them. And it's the same way when you go to, you know, a big CPA to go do your taxes too, unless it's really complicated and you're a lifetime customer with them. Chances are this just burn and turn them. Whereas I'll spend the 20 minutes to explain, like, all right, here's your tax strategy for this coming year. This is what went wrong this year. This is why this is bad. This is why this is good. You know, I don't intend to make anybody tax experts with my clients, because that's far too involving. But the most basic thing, because taxes is my specialty, that I teach the clients, and it's really nice to see them go, oh my goodness, that is so, like, I wish I knew that.
Right.
You know, it's really cool to be able to show people, because people's business is their livelihood. They, you know, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into it, and I'm the same way. So when you really be able to help lift up another person's company, it's really cool.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, and it's one of the things that I've seen from successful entrepreneurs is that they're willing to take time to, you know, really time out of because time is money. Let's just face it. I mean, anytime you're spending, like you said, 20, 30 minutes extra that you wouldn't get from a normal other CPA or whatever, that's still money. I mean, that's still, I mean, anywhere else that would be billable time. And one of the things that I love about fellow veteranpreneurs is they have no problem, you know, especially, you know, when you're a vet and you're trying to start something, they don't have any problem sitting down with you and talking. You know, Stephen Kuhn helped me a lot. I mean, you know, he wasn't expecting me to cut him a check as soon as you know, he's like, hey, when you start making money doing this, I just want you to come back and let me find the other money, you know, the money that you're not utilizing. And I'm going to, you know, at some point when I get this, you know, a business or this business rolling, he's going to be my go-to guy because he already invested. He invested time, you know, and so I truly believe that that's what, you know, builds a good, strong bond a lot of times between not just the veteran community, but in general. When you find a good professional that you're working with and they're willing to spend a little bit of their time, you know, you can see that.
I agree with you. Absolutely. And I've had the exact same experience that you did with Stephen. And when I'm ready to take this on a much higher scale, he's going to be the first one to call as well. Yeah. And it's the same reason, the same thing that he did with both of us. It's the same thing I do every day almost when I go onto these different Facebook groups. So I'm on more than just Vetpreneur Tribe. I'm on Drinking Bros Business. I'm on a bunch of different cities and stuff. And I do the exact same thing. I do, you know, advanced tax strategies or today's tax tip. And I do that all for free because it's building interest. It builds image. It builds your brand. And it also does show people like, look, I'm willing to invest my time in helping you without expectation of return. Yeah. So generally speaking, you will get customers out of that just for reasons. Yes. And that's, of course, that is the end goal. This is a business. You know, I'm not here as a nonprofit, but at the same time, you kind of get to show what kind of business person you are when you do that. You know, every time I made a live, I was like, all right, so if you want to do a consultation call, it's going to be $300. I'm never going to get a phone call. No. Yeah, no. It's you got to invest a little bit to, you know, it's called that, you know, he's always talking about relational capital. Yep. You know, I mean, it really speaks to that. And it changes your mindset. I'm going to tell you that just interviewing different people and finding out their motivations for creating a business, it all goes back to passion. You know, and it's a passion for you. I mean, you know, for some people, they think about accounting and how could that possibly be a passion? And Brandon's like, because it's freaking great. You know, I mean, because you love it. And you can tell you love it on your live, you know, because I can always see you really enjoy the teaching aspect, you know, and giving that information out and dropping knowledge on people. Hey, give me we're doing okay on time, probably about 8 to 10 more minutes. Give me an idea. In your particular career path, what do you see as success for yourself? You know, I mean, you know, a lot of people are like, he's killing it on Facebook. He's killing it with Facebook ads. For you personally, Brandyn Cox, for your BMC accounting business, what do you see as your goal for success? I would say the goal for success for me personally is to be able to have enough business during the tax season that I can work my tail off and take the next 9 months to really enjoy my family, my time, my life. And that's what a lot of tax professionals do. Because before I got into doing my own business, I had interviewed for a couple really big CPA firms, and I told them, you know, tax is what I want to do. And they said, yeah, I mean, be prepared for that first quarter. It's going to be a death gauntlet. You're going to be working your tail off. But, you know, the next 8-9 months is rather relaxing. And near October, you get busy again because you had those people that did their automatic extension for 6 months. You got to redo those. Right. But still, I mean, you know, I want to be able to go to all my different, I have a daughter who's 18 months old. I want to be able to go to her daycare or her school when they have parent involving events. I want to be able to have Saturdays to enjoy my family with. You know, that's the goal, is to be able to just do enough work that I have enough money to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to become the CEO of a billion-dollar enterprise. And I never thought that that was something I'd be interested in, because it's just, I don't know, it just seems so over my head,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally understand that. That's, you know, I think, and I truly believe, I mean, we're both Army. We've
Yeah.
both spent 12 months at a time away from, and so much changes, you know, with your children and with the, you know, I remember I left for Iraq in 2000, at the mid 2006 level. And, you know, my daughter was 4. And, you know, there's a big difference between a daughter that's 4 and a daughter that's, you know, 6. You know, by the time you get home, you know, and you're
like, wow, you've learned a lot.
you learn, they change a lot. And so, you know, that's time, obviously you can't go back and change, and you know, but as a soldier, I know that, you know, family time moving forward for any business that I include, you know, that I get into in the future, I have to make time for my family. You know, it's something that I think is super important for your mental well-being, in my opinion.
It really is. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I put in a lot of time capital into this business, because my business, fortunately, isn't one of the ones that are, you know, financially capital heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a lot of overhead unless you do a lot of extra like ads and everything like that. And I don't do that. So,
Yeah.
but it's taken a ton of time capital for this build up to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that this time capital, relational capital, continuing my education to get further licenses and certifications is going to pay off in this coming year, that I can do exactly what I was just saying, is, you know, work for really, really, really hard for 3 or 4 months,
Mm-hmm.
you know, still work throughout the year, but, you know, maybe work 4 days a week, enjoy, you know, 5-hour days.
Yeah.
You know, do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I believe it will, Brandon. I mean, I'm seeing you name dropped all the time, you know, in a group that is basically made up of veteran entrepreneurs. I mean,
Yep.
people that are going to need tax help in the coming months, but not just that. I mean, I know you've got other customers, and I know that, you know, but I truly believe 2019 is going to be a huge year for you. And for a lot of these people that are stepping out, just trying to kind of follow their passion and
Mm-hmm.
do what makes them, you know, what makes them feel complete. And so I really respect you a lot for stepping out, you know, and trying to get some things going, offering the free advice that you do on Facebook Live. You know, basically, you know, you can spend a whole bunch of money on advertising, but I truly believe that you're definitely taking the right direction. You know, you're building that relational capital that's really it's gonna give you enough work to be probably really super busy in the coming year.
Yeah, I think so too. I can agree with that for sure. You know, it's funny because you were talking about like with the free advice, and I had mentioned that too. And somebody else who was in the accounting industry, he's a good friend of mine that's where I'm from. I actually went to school with them. Because I told him, you know, about what I do in my businesses. And he's like, man, aren't you worried that like you give so much information out that you're going to actually lose customers because they're going to try to do it themselves?
Yeah.
And I said, no. And here's why. The number one reason why, aside from the good stuff of like, oh, I still want to talk to him or whatever, is people are nervous to file their own taxes.
Yes,
even if they know that they're doing it right, they're nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to talk to someone who is 100% knowledgeable about this and can definitely guarantee, because when I do any of my business, in taxes included, I do 100% audit guarantee that if there's an audit and it's because of my problem, my errors, or my omissions,
Mm-hmm.
I pay any of the fees that go with it. And I'm also licensed and insured. So
Sure.
you know, there's the amount of risk that a client has from going with someone like me goes from moderate to high to almost none.
Right. Yeah, because you got it covered. You did everything the right way. You know, you're not just, you know, jumping out there and jumping online, TurboTax, or I mean, you know, whatever. I know for sure that I would take, and I'm going to be taking my business taxes even more serious probably than I take my own taxes. I mean, you know, because you just don't want to have those big penalties that can.
Right. There's so many more deductions and credits for businesses than there are for individuals. And that's the Internal Revenue Code was written that way because we are a capitalist society. We are involved on small businesses. Most of our gross domestic product, our GDP every year, doesn't always come from the heavy people like GM and Ford. It comes from the millions and millions of small businesses that are in America, even the people that make $5,000 a year to the people that are making $1 million a year as a small business owner. You know, that's why the IRS decides, hey, we're going to give a lot of deductions and credits for businesses.
Yeah. Now, what's it kind of in conclusion, basically, I want to, what is the last, you know, what's the last thing that, as you're going into throughout your life and you're creating this business, this is basically, you know, you can work a job your entire life and that could be your legacy. That's completely fine. I mean, I know a lot of people that have done that. When you're building your business, you know, you kind of said it's towards kind of building a better life for your daughter and those type of things. But also, you know, what do you want to be remembered for? You know what I mean? Like, I think that a lot of times some of us, you know, we don't want to be a one-trick pony. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we did super hua stuff in our case, super hua stuff, but you know, I don't necessarily want that to be the only thing that defines me for the rest of my life. I want other things to be able to be, you know, marked down. Hey,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
As happy and proud as I am in my service, I don't, you know, there's more to me. I would like to think that the veteran and the military part of my life is just an afterthought. Not that it's disregarded, but it's not everything.
Right.
So the legacy that I'd like to leave behind with my company is and for people to know me by is my ethical behavior in business. You know, aside from the fact that I like to think that I'm a genuinely good person, the most basic for business practices with ethics, especially in a business that revolves with a lot of online business like myself, if you mess someone over, it only takes the one actual, true, legitimate complaint to shut you down. You know, I mean, there might be people that complain about things online, and that happens. But if you genuinely screw someone over online, everyone has a voice these days. So, you know, at the bare minimum, ethical behavior should just be a part of your business model.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah, but do you feel like that's kind of keeping businesses honest these days, maybe? I mean, you know, I truly believe that. I mean, you see a lot of, you know, chefs complaining about Yelp, you know, or people that own restaurants and things like that complaining about Yelp or the Facebook rating systems or things like that. And I've even dealt with it. I mean, with my Amazon store, you know, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. It was, you know, fulfilled through Amazon. But this guy left me a scathing review. And I just basically, you know, I had the confidence to be like, nah, man, this guy did this. Look at my other reviews. I feel like, you know, but you're right. It's like this grade card now. We're back in school, but now you have this visible grade card that kind of just sits right here. So anything that you do, you know, you gotta provide the best customer service, or you're really gonna
absolutely see that. Right. You
and
know,
then they share, and it's on Facebook and it's on Instagram and it's on, you know. So
it doesn't take long to break you down, because it can take time to really build you up, and that's what I've noticed, and that's normal. So you have to be patient with, you know, your ethical behavior to build your business. If that's your brand, it takes time to get it good, but it doesn't take time to destroy it.
No. Yeah, that's a good thing. Well, listen, man, we've already come to about 30 minutes. We were talking about, and I really appreciate it. Let me just conclude by saying, guys, this is basically what my page is about. I mean, I've said it in the other videos. I like to showcase veteran businesses. I like to talk about what makes them tick. What are some things that they tripped over? What are the things that made them succeed? You know, check in often on these videos, because there's going to be something as I continue to build a different, build in more and more careers. There's going to be more and more information that you can take from these videos, and it'll give you a step ahead. And that's what a lot of veterans are about. You know, we're trying to help other people, you know, not make the same mistakes that we did. And so, listen, my buddy Brandon is with BMC Accounting, of course. I'm going to have his website and his telephone number if you need to have your business taxes done, or if you need help creating an LLC or an S Corp. You can work on S Corps as well, right? I mean, you know.
Yeah, I work anything from a C Corp all the way down to sole proprietor.
Awesome. He's your guy. I mean, talk about integrity. This guy he's becoming a very recognizable face on Facebook these days with all of his live free advice. But the guy is a great friend, and he'll be a wonderful person to help prepare your taxes and get everything ready for you, so you're ready to go to the new year in 2019. Brandyn, thanks so much, man, for coming on. I see big things for you in 2019. I hope it just explodes for you.
Yeah.
And,
I certainly hope so too, and I appreciate your compliments there.
Ah, man, my pleasure, my pleasure. Guys, thanks again. Check in often, and we'll see you on the next interview.
All right, thank you.